I'm good, thank you. Are you?
I'm good. I'm good, thank you. Are you porridge, oating, tea? What have you got on the go today? Or nothing?
No, literally, I'm not, I'm due to eat, but I've not had a chance yet. So yeah, I've not. I've had a fantastic session with my PT client this morning, which was awesome. She's absolutely smashed it. And I did some lunges with her, so I kind of feel good about that. Obviously, socially distanced lunges. So yeah, all good. It's really good to see as well people joining. So Julia, Josie, hi everybody. Really nice to see everybody here today. I think I saw Ben pop on there as well. So hi Ben.
Amazing. Good. I'm glad you can see everybody then. I thought I could.
Yeah, I think I don't think I can interact with people this end. I can't press any buttons, but people are popping up, so I can see that.
I'm waving, and we're physically waving at all of you. So thank you for joining. Okay, awesome. So today is all about belief systems or beliefs on their own. And actually the system word kind of got me. I was like, oh, but they're all intertwined and it does form this system. So if there's a particular belief in one area, then it kind of messes up the whole system as well. So yes, it's been a really interesting one to think about in advance for today. But personally, I have had many a limiting belief. I am still working through some of mine as well, very much so, particularly in the relationship department, and maybe we'll get to that later. But yeah, beliefs, there have definitely been beliefs in my life that have kept me playing small or just kind of staying stuck, or actually just caused me a lot of pain because I didn't believe that was for me, so I couldn't sort of go after it. So yeah, there's been sort of a lot there, but then I've also developed some empowering beliefs as well, and life has been a lot more open and easier and flowing since then. So we'll talk about that. But what about you, Sam? Like, how's your experience with beliefs?
I mean, I definitely agree in terms of things that are still holding me back now. But I think my main ones have been around. So when we grow up, obviously, we are around certain people, we're around certain friends, and our family believe certain things. And this very much created a life for me that didn't feel very congruent when I was growing up. I never really felt like I fit in growing up anyway. And then we moved a number of times when I was younger. And obviously then chopping and changing different friendship groups. But for me, the belief system was always there, and I was instilled in from my grandparents actually that I had to go to university. It was a must. You know, it's a case of I'd be the first grandchild to go, and a part of that was because my dad is really clever, and my uncle is as well actually. But they forced my dad to go to university, and he actually rebelled. So like, he's clever enough to be a mentor. He's really smart. And he just rebelled, and that's kind of always been a thing then for my granddad that, you know, he's kind of let him down. So I was then like the next in line to go and do that, basically. And I did. But I've always had it instilled through, obviously, traditional mindset of, you know, you find someone, you settle down, you have kids, you get a house and all that sort of thing, and you get a decent job, but you've got to go to university to get a decent job, is that I've been through then a process of, you know, from being with someone when I was 17, we got engaged eventually, 7 years later into the relationship. Once I'd come out of university, he'd already finished university as I was coming out. He's quite a bit older than me. But for him, it was a case of he wanted me to be a stay-at-home mum. It was a case of, you know, I don't want you to work too far from home. I wanted to go into medical repping. I knew that's what I wanted to do. I love driving. I love being out and about. But he's like, no, I want you to work 15 minutes down the road. Why can't you work 15 minutes down the road? Why do you have to be on the road for work? Why do you have to be traveling around for work? Why do you have to be going abroad? It's like, because that's what I want to do. And he stopped me from going into the police because I really wanted to join the police, because his belief was, if you join the police, that we won't last because you'll end up copping off basically with some other copper in the police. And I let his belief systems influence then my life, which is sickening really when I look back on it. You know, there's still parts of me now that I think, oh, I wish I kind of would have joined back then. It would have been really fun. So yeah, it's my beliefs around, you know, other people's influence as well, making me think that I have to do and address certain things. I got to then about 25, literally is kind of in a, obviously once I'd left him, anyways, been engaged to him, but I kind of hit rock bottom a little bit of a lot of partying, doing loads of stupid shit, and because I just couldn't find then my path. I could not figure out what the fuck I was supposed to be doing with my life, because I wasn't conforming to what I thought I was supposed to be doing. I was living in house shares, so I was, you know, renting with other people. I was still out. I wasn't in a relationship at that point. I couldn't find a relationship. I couldn't find anyone that I was interested in. I was very much career focused. Didn't want kids. I still don't want kids now. But there's that belief that as a woman, you've got to have children. Mm-hmm. And I'm not that bothered. There's so many things for me that I've got a massive tick list that I still want to do. That for me, it's not part of my sphere anymore. I've discarded it. I'm like, no, I've dropped that. I don't need to have that to have a happy, successful life. And I think it's very much kind of coming to terms with what feels good for you to live your best life, rather than taking on beliefs of other people. Like, is it truly what you want, or is it something that's actually come down this filter of hierarchy of other people above you, to, you know, see the world in a certain way, but it might not necessarily be the world that you want to see.
I totally resonate with that. Sorry, my camera's not staying still, so it's just drooping.
I feel like mine's going
up every now and again. But yeah, I totally resonate with all of that. And you were just saying about ticking boxes you want to tick, but that's more stuff that you want to do now. But I was the opposite, because I felt like I had this blueprint and this checklist of things that I needed to accomplish. And for a while, on a subconscious level, I thought get a good education, get a good job, you know, find someone nice to settle down with. But the end goal is have children. Like, what else are you on this planet to do? And that was kind of where you were aiming for. Everything else was going to kind of help you get there and have the money to fund the family, and things like that. So what happened when I got to, you know, my mid-20s, and that wasn't really happening, and it wasn't looking like it was anything near. Then I got into my late 20s, and I got into my early 30s. It was getting really desperate and really uncomfortable, and it was making me miserable. And I was like, well, hang about, where did this come from? Like, is this all there is to life? Like, is this, you know, what about having other goals, having like other big goals? Sure, you know, you have little goals along the way. And I just realized that everything kind of was aiming towards that. And it was something that I'd, you know, picked up. And I think we kind of all do. It's just that sort of blueprint of life that we're given.
Yeah. Especially with schools as well. The school system doesn't help either with that. It's very much, you should do this and do that. And to be successful, you have to have good grades, go to university. And if you don't kind of conform to that, then you're like special. So it's very much not the way anymore. And it's, you know, it really needs to be unpicked a little bit more.
Absolutely. And you know, like, it's our lives, you know, we have our individual life. We can make what we want of it, you know. Conforming to other people's beliefs or ideals for us is not a way to live a happy life, and not a way to live your own life. You know, you're living someone else's. And, you know, if I take, I guess, one example of, you know, my past situation of being in rehab and sort of being labeled as an addict. And I do label myself as that when I'm in conversation. But there's two ways to view it. I can believe that I am powerless to it, and I have to be very, very careful and watch myself, live in fear of it. Or I can go, okay, well, I just have these tendencies that I can manage. And that's a much more empowering thing than a disempowering belief to have, that I have to be really careful and watch myself. And that's how I interpreted it eventually. And that's how I live by. And I just think we can't change what is, but we can change how we view things, how we interpret things, and what they mean to us, and how we take meaning from that. So yeah, and you know, another example as well in terms of career. I was just writing about this for actually a post tomorrow, but you know, my grid is full of all kinds of stuff. Like, I'm not like sticking to one sort of niche, and you know, I have lots of things that I like to do, and lots of things that I'm good at. I also have a fair few things that I'm not so good at as well. But I want to do all those things. I don't want to just have to pick one. Even in the business space, it's like, oh no, you know, people aren't going to know what you do, and you have to be really clear in your message and this, and it's like, but that's not me. That's not how I work. And for a while, I was trying to fit in this box, and it just wasn't working. It just wasn't working. So I've changed that belief and gone, well, no, this is my life. This is my career. This is why I chose to work for myself. So I'm going to do all that I want to. And it will be, huh?
I'm going to do me.
I'm going to do me. I'm going to do me. Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, that's what it's all about. You do you.
I mean, I'd hand it back out to the people that are watching right now. I mean, do you have any beliefs in particular that have possibly held you back from wanting to do certain things in life, certain things that you wanted to achieve, or that possibly haven't served you very well to move you forward, that you've had to drop perhaps? Because I think there's about a couple of you, a good handful of you that are still watching live now. So it'd be good to see if you have any other beliefs that you feel that, you know, that maybe haven't served you through life, that things that you were told as a child that really aren't that true anymore.
I'd love to hear as well if people have like switched that around, or you know, sometimes you can flip just a belief on its head and it's like a brand new belief and it's just awesome. Or sometimes you just actually go out and seek like brand new ones, and adopt those in and start living them. I think the more, until you start kind of living it, you know, you strengthen that. And they take, I think, past beliefs that we've carried for a very long time take a good while to uproot. It's not like just done in one session. It's just living by another set of beliefs or another belief, and just building that up every day and making it a thing, making it a real thing, and overriding the past one as well. Getting waves. Hi guys. I'm waving on the button, but I'm also waving my hand. Okay, so what are your top tips, Sam, for changing beliefs and reframing things?
So for me, I mean, these are the first things that came to mind, because for me this is like a massive topic, and this is something that I work on like a 12-week process with my ladies. But I guess the starting point for me is actually to get people to write down what exactly they do believe. So in terms of obviously my area of food and weight loss and things like that, it's like, right, what do they actually believe about certain foods? What do they believe about certain diets? What do they believe about their body, the capabilities of that? So once we know that starting point, we can then work then on the reframe of, you know, starting to work on the beliefs that might contradict how you are capable of doing something. So a lot of people like to say the reasons why they can't do certain things, and that's obviously the limiting factor. And so if we say for someone that feels that they can't lose weight, whatever they do, they cannot lose weight. But then if they were to look into their past of, right, well, are there times in the past that you've lost weight? And they're like, well, yeah. They're like, well, you are capable of doing it. It's just you're not primed for it right now. So it's starting to understand, right, what are my belief systems, and getting really dead clear on what it is you believe about your life right now, your capabilities or not. And then understanding your why. So why do you do those things then? Why do you believe those certain things? So it's knowing your truth, like where are you now, and understanding your why, and then you can start to move forward. Is it for you? Is it for someone else? Has someone else instilled that in you? And then start to be curious around that belief. Is start to write the pros and the cons to having that belief. And are there times in your life that actually you've proved that belief that you have wrong? Because we want to start then, if we want to shift that belief, we want to start focusing on the contradictions to that current belief. And these contradictions then become our truths of, well, we are capable of doing something, and this then forms the new belief system. And then I just guess, you know, once you've written that list down, look and just even put a ticker across of, are those beliefs serving you? And if they're not, then fucking change them, because we're not here long enough that we need to do something about it, and it's well in our control to do it, but we have to have that awareness first.
Those are great. I love it. It's like, because they're proper step by step as well, going through. And that last one, is it serving you? And that was going to be my one that I was going to start with, is asking the question.
Well, that works in quite nicely then, doesn't it?
Yeah. But you know, we fail to we fail to ask ourselves decent questions a lot of the time anyway, because we just take things for a given. But if we sit down with ourselves and ask ourselves, you know, questions like that internally, we'll find out a lot of stuff. And yeah, there are things, you know, we have a choice as to whether we have a choice as to whether we want to continue believing something or not. So that, I think that's the best place to start is, and I love, you know, writing these things down. I'm a big fan of like physical writing stuff down. And it's what I do in my journaling in the morning, or if I've got stuff on my mind, I like hash it out on paper. But yeah, so getting it on paper, is it serving me? Is this serving me? And how is this affecting other areas of my life as well? And then once you kind of figured that out, it's like, well, how can I go about changing it? And I think what you need to find out is where that belief came from. Because otherwise, if you can't find out, you can't sort of trace it back, then it's quite difficult to rewire it or to reinterpret it. So for instance, if it came from somewhere or someone, something said at school, like really long time ago, it's like, well, is this relevant now in my adult life? Or was this kind of a comment that I picked up? And, you know, in terms of, you know, give another example, I guess, with relationships. My parents are divorced, which I wouldn't have initially thought that doesn't affect my view on kind of relationships. But on a subconscious level, I have probably gone through life in order to protect that belief, only focusing and only realizing or noticing relationships that aren't working. And that's kind of happens on a subconscious level. And I think we have to be mindful that so much does go on a subconscious level, not necessarily us doing it. Like we're not intentionally sabotaging sabotaging our lives and, you know, ignoring things that are good for us. It happens on a subconscious level, usually to protect us. And it's just a human thing. I think that we want to feel part of, well, we need community, but also feel part of the pack. We don't want to be outcast. So there's all that stuff going on at play, which is why I think you really need to spend the time delving into this and really kind of unpicking all of the layers. I think the number one thing you can do, I think people have such a big impact on us and our way of thinking, and it can be family members. Speaking of which, hi Mum, it's just joined. Amazing. And yes, you know, they can be from family members, even our friends. And if we're not constantly around new people, then we're going to just stay with the beliefs that we have. So we need to always be welcoming new people into our life, not necessarily as best buddies and hanging out every week, but making sure.
For new perspectives, we need to have that new perspective input.
Absolutely, absolutely. And other people will make us challenge our own beliefs. So it's just really important that we keep bringing them in.
And it's important that when that challenge does arise, that we don't shy away from it, because I was very guilty of that. If anyone would challenge what I believed, I'd be like, well, it just is. Just, you know, basically I'd be rude. I'd be, you know, really closed off to people. Whereas now I'm like, oh, okay, well, tell me more about that. Kind of what is your understanding of that? What's your belief around that? And let me understand your world, because ultimately that's what we need to do, because everybody has a completely different perception of the world. And that obviously then ultimately forms what our belief systems are. So, it's to be curious, always be curious.
100%. And be open-minded. I think that's when, you know, if you start being defensive, then that's just, you're not going to get anywhere. You know, that's ego, that's protecting your beliefs, and then you're not going to sort of break through. So I think always going into things open-minded, and just hear the other side. You know, you don't have to take it, but just listen, and then take it away and go and process it that evening or later on throughout the week. But I think, that flexible thinking and open-mindedness is what allows you to think of things a different way and think, oh, actually, maybe that does make sense, and that does work. And I'm changing my mind about things all the time. All the time,
yeah. It doesn't mean to say you've got to take the full thing on either. It's just taking snippets of things that work for you. I feel like my life and my business is taking the best snippets that work for me from so many different systems, from life coaching, from NLP, from, you know, certain parts of like behavior change processes, to other parts of psychology, to, you know, the fitness and nutrition side. I'm just a big mashup hybrid, and that's cool. I don't need to fit into a box of being a nutritionist or a personal trainer or, you know, a full-on mindset coach. It's like, no, I can be a little bit of everything. I'll take the bits that work for me and work for my clients. I don't need to keep boxing myself in.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if everyone box themselves into the categories that the majority of us are familiar with, then no one stands out. It's like, well, why would you work with that person? Or you know, from a business sense, it's more from the experience that they've had, if they can help you, and the experiences are similar there, especially in a coaching capacity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a personality kind of thing, and I just think the more we embrace all the little things that we enjoy, instead of hiding things, and also just being open and honest about the things that perhaps are not so favorable about us, then
which ties back into last week.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's just, you know, it's that's what helps people relate to us, as we said before. Relatability. And I think just new people is my number one thing. That's what helps me with shifting beliefs. What's your number one, Sam? Your number one thing that helps you?
I think for me it is being curious. It's to sit and listen to other people and what they've got to say, and not boxing myself in. It's like, if I've got an idea, welcome it and see how that can fit into my life, rather than say, no, it doesn't fit because it's, you know, contradicts this or that. It's like, no, let's have a look and reflect on the whole bigger picture. So yeah, just be curious and don't box yourself in. Love it.
Awesome. Shall we end there?
Yes, I think so. So it's still not that bad on time. We're 22 minutes in, so
I know, it's a bit like
looking like 2-minute increments.
Yeah, love it. I'm like down on the table because my thing's falling down. Can we go now? Propping it up. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us who's still here live, and a big thank you to everyone who is watching the replay. And yeah, drop your beliefs, your empowering ones and your disempowering ones, in the comments below, and just start a conversation about that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. See you later.
Right. Have a lovely weekend, everybody.
Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye.